Two bottles, one aisle, your thumb moving between the price tags. The expensive one has to be the honest one. Both may hold the same refined petroleum. Most oil sold today as fully synthetic is not synthetic. It is highly refined mineral oil, rock. Crude put through a severe process, then given permission by a legal decision over 20 years old. Not a laboratory decision, a legal one. You pay a synthetic price at every oil change for as long as you own the car. And nothing on that bottle is a lie. The label is legally clean. A second document, free, public, sitting on the manufacturer's own website right now, reports what you actually poured into your engine. One phrase, one line of text. Find it on that document and the bottle in your hand is refined rock, no matter how big the word on the front. 8 bottles. 7 names you would know anywhere, one with no name at all. Everyone says full synthetic. Not one is. And it all traces back to a hearing room in 1999, where the company that was chemically wrong won the word. Mobil challenged Castrol. That is where this starts. Castrol had been selling an oil called Syntec, built on Group 4 polyalpha-olefin, real synthetic base, assembled in a laboratory. Then Castrol reformulated it. Out went the polyalpha-olefin, in came Group 3 hydrocracked base, refined from crude. And the front of the bottle did not change. Same word, same shelf, same price. Mobil's argument was simple and chemically it was correct. Only polyalpha-olefin deserves the word synthetic. The National Advertising Division of the Council of Better Business Bureaus heard it and ruled for Castrol. A sufficiently refined Group 3 oil may be called synthetic. That is the whole origin. A hearing room, not a laboratory. I think about a customer I have met 100 versions of. He buys the black and red bottle because his father bought the black and red bottle. 15 years of loyalty. And one time he paid extra for the imported bottle, the one that felt like the serious choice, never knowing that the expensive base under that word had been quietly taken out years before he ever lifted it off the shelf. Castrol Syntec became Castrol Edge. Most of the Edge line sold today runs a Group 3 base. Buy Edge, and you are almost certainly buying Group 3 with genuinely excellent additives. And I want to be fair, those additives are very good. But the expensive base was removed and the price was not. That is a swap you funded and were never told about. This is not your fault. Nobody handed you the ruling. Castrol has been telling the technical truth ever since it won the right to define the word. And the moment that ruling landed, every competitor in the aisle had the same permission. Within a few years, practically all of them had made the same swap. One of them went further and found a way to make refined rock sound like a laboratory breakthrough using natural gas. A man is on his sofa watching a commercial. Oil made from natural gas. Clean, technical, precise. It finally sounds like science instead of advertising, and he decides right there that this is the one he is buying from now on. Pennzoil, owned by Shell. And the technology is real. I will not take that from them. Shell's Pure Plus process converts natural gas into base oil, and it is genuinely clever engineering. The commercials are not fiction. The final product is still Group 3, not Group 4, not polyalpha-olefin. A heavily processed natural gas-derived oil that lands by classification in the same group as the cheapest bottle on that shelf. It is a very high-quality Group 3, top of its class, but it was not built molecule by molecule, and that distinction is the whole subject, because the base sets the fundamental quality of what you are pouring in. Group 4 is assembled in a laboratory, every molecule identical to the next one, uniform and clean, no impurities and no oddities. Group 3 is refined, and refining means you started with molecules of wildly different lengths and you polished them. Think of a stone. Group 3 is a stone polished until it shines like glass. Group 4 is a stone grown in a laboratory. Put them side by side on a table, and both of them look beautiful. Only one of them has no weak links waiting inside it to break under heat. Heat finds the weak molecules first, always. And if the most advanced sounding process in the aisle produces a Group 3 base, then price has stopped telling you anything about what is underneath. Which is how 2 bottles end up on the same shelf, at 2 different prices, made by the same company, from the same base formula. Quaker State, also Shell, same Group 3 base technology. Essentially the same base formula as Pennzoil Platinum, positioned at a different price point, on the same shelf, in the same store, made by the same corporation. I have watched buyers stand in front of those two bottles and reach for the cheaper Shell brand with a small twist of guilt, convinced they were accepting a lesser oil to save a few coins. They were not accepting anything. They were declining to pay for the label, because underneath both of them sits the same polished stone from a minute ago, severely hydrocracked crude. Properties genuinely improved, significantly improved, and still a petroleum derivative. Refined from rock, not created in a laboratory. One base, two bottles, two prices. So whatever the gap is between those two price tags on your receipt, that gap is not chemistry, and it is not protection. It is a word on the front of a bottle, and you pay it again at every oil change, for every year you keep the car. If one brand family can sell one base at two prices, the same logic lets one brand sell two different bases under one name. There is a brand out there where the honesty depends on which bottle you physically lift off the shelf. Same logo, two different answers. Two men own the same model, same year, both loyal to the same brand for a decade, both absolutely certain they run identical oil. One reaches for 0W20, the other reaches for 5W30. And there is a real chance that only one of those bottles contains any laboratory-built base at all. Valvoline Advanced Full Synthetic, formerly SynPower, one of the most popular oils on the market. The line runs predominantly Group 3, with some polyalpha olefin blended in depending on the viscosity. It is not a pure polyalpha olefin oil. The blend varies by product. The main base stays Group 3, and while we are naming groups, there is a Group 5 as well. Esters and other special oils, genuinely synthetic, with properties superior to almost everything else in that aisle. Remember that name, it comes back. Which is where brand loyalty stops protecting you. Judging oil by the logo is guessing, because the grade printed on the front changes the base sitting underneath it. Two friends comparing notes over a fence, agreeing they use the same oil, and one of them is right and neither of them knows which. That is a brand that varies. At the opposite end of the aisle sits a brand that never varies, because it was engineered to a fixed target. The cheapest bottle that still carries the words full synthetic. It is not cheap because somebody is being generous with you. There is a specific number it was built to just barely clear. Saturday morning. A driveway oil change. 5 quarts of the store brand going into the cart, and the man pushing it is doing the arithmetic and quietly enjoying it. Full synthetic protection for conventional money. He has beaten the system. He has beaten the label. That much is true. Whether he has beaten the engineering is a different question, and it is not answered anywhere on the front of that bottle. Supertech Full Synthetic is a retail house brand, manufactured by third parties. Group 3 base plus an additive package built to meet the required specifications of the American Petroleum Institute. It is not polyalpha olefin, and it is not ester. It is Group 3 with basic additives that clear the minimum certification. The business model said out loud, buy inexpensive Group 3, add an additive package that passes certification, print full synthetic on the label, sell it at a price nobody else can touch. And I want to be straight with you, because I am not here to scare you off a bottle that works. In a normal daily driver, changed on schedule, this oil can do the job perfectly well. I have seen high-mileage engines opened up clean on cheap oil changed religiously. Calling it full synthetic stretches the truth. Calling it useless would be a lie. But hold on to this, because it is the sentence that reframes everything after it. Passing a certification and protecting an engine are two entirely different achievements. This bottle was formulated to accomplish the first one at the lowest possible cost. And if the cheapest bottle in the store clears the same certification as the most expensive one, then certification is not what separates good oil from bad. It never was. At this point, it is very tempting to file all of this under discount aisle problems, and to decide that the people paying dealership prices for the factory-recommended oil are the ones who are safe. That conclusion is where most people lose the most money. The service counter at the dealership. A printed invoice slides across it. There is a line item that reads full synthetic oil change and a total that is comfortably the highest price in town. and the customer signing it with something close to relief, because this, of all places, cannot be cutting corners. These are the people who built the engine. He is holding, in his own hand, the document that proves they did. Motorcraft Full Synthetic is Ford's official oil. Take a Ford to the dealership for the manufacturer-recommended service, and in most cases what goes into your engine is a Group 3 oil, labeled Full Synthetic, invoiced at premium price. Ford recommends it because it meets every required specification, and because it is cheaper to supply than true polyalpha olefin. Cheaper to supply. Sit with those 3 words for a second. Because of everything I have told you today, that is the phrase I would want you to keep. The company that designed your engine, that wrote the service interval printed in your owner's manual, that knows precisely what that engine endures on a cold start, in traffic, in August, behind a turbo. That company looked at the base oil options and chose the one that costs it less. And the extended interval in your manual is resting on that base. Does it work? Within the intervals Ford recommends, yes. I am not going to tell you engines are dropping out of Fords on the highway. They are not. But it is not remotely what a person pictures when he reads the words full synthetic on a service invoice he just paid the highest price in town for. If you are still with me, hit the like button, because what comes next is the part the marketing departments genuinely assumed nobody would look up, and it decides whether the paperwork in your glove box means anything. Ford is not an outlier. There is a specification with a name, one that owners quote with real pride, as proof they are doing everything correctly, and it does not require synthetic base at all. A man in a service waiting room explaining to a stranger with total confidence that his truck only ever gets Dexos-approved oil. He recites it the way you recite a rule you trust completely, because you have never had a reason to read past its name. AC Delco Full Synthetic is General Motors' official oil. Take a Chevrolet, a Buick, a GMC in for a factory oil service, and what goes in is predominantly Group 3. It meets the Dexos specifications General Motors requires. Every box on the form is ticked. For normal use, within the recommended intervals, it is entirely adequate. It is also not true polyalpha olefin, and Dexos never claimed it had to be. A specification certifies that the oil satisfies the manufacturer. It has never once certified that the oil satisfies the owner who intends to keep the vehicle for a decade. And then there is the thing that settles the argument completely. Take that same bottle, sealed, untouched, ship it to Germany. In Europe, and in Germany in particular, this naming is not permitted. An oil must be polyalpha olefin or ester to be called synthetic. That bottle cannot legally wear the word on its front label there. One continent calls it synthetic, the other calls it mineral oil. The chemistry inside the sealed bottle is identical. The only thing that changed is the permission. In America, the rule differs, and that difference is the entire reason refined mineral oil can be sold to you under a synthetic label at a synthetic price. So if the base is essentially the same from the discount shelf to the dealership counter, something else has to explain why some of these oils genuinely protect an engine and others barely qualify as oil. The real dividing line in that whole aisle is not the base at all. It is a component nobody names, nobody advertises, and nobody can see through the plastic. Picture 2 drain pans at the end of a long interval. 2 engines, same mileage, same base group, same black oil, still flowing, looking to the eye exactly identical. Open both engines up. One has varnish on the valve train you can see with a flashlight. The other one is clean. The base was never the variable between those 2 pans. The additive package was. Every motor oil is base plus additives. And with the base now largely standardized across the entire aisle, from house brand to factory fill, the additive package became the only thing left that decides real-world protection. The industry quietly moved the whole competition into the one ingredient it never prints on the front. A good quality Group 3 carrying a strong additive package will protect an engine perfectly in normal service. That is not a consolation prize, it is a fact. The major brands run high-quality Group 3 with robust additive packages, and that is precisely why they perform as well as they do despite the base. Budget formulations run additives calibrated to one target, the minimum required to pass certification. Now, the part almost nobody accounts for. Additives are consumables. They get used up. They deplete across the interval, the way brake pads wear down while the rotor sits there looking fine. Which is why the clean engine and the varnished one looked identical at the drain plug. The difference between a serious oil and a certification minimum oil does not show up in the first part of the interval. It shows up in the last stretch, when one package still has something left and the other one has already given everything it had. So the real dividing line runs straight through the middle of Group 3, not between Group 3 and Group 4. A strong Group 3 with a serious additive package outperforms a marginal one so thoroughly that the two should not share a shelf, let alone share a label. All of that is checkable, as long as somebody publishes the paperwork. And there is an entire tier out there that publishes nothing at all. No base, no additives, no document of any kind. And it is the tier bought with the least thought of any of them. A roadside parts shop. Bottles stacked by the door, sun on the plastic, full synthetic printed on every single one, priced within pocket change of conventional oil. A man buys 4 of them because he needs the car running on Monday, and in many cases there is no published document anywhere that says what is inside them. This is the tier that worries me most, honestly. Not because it is the worst oil, because it is the one bought without a single second of thought. The rule for it does not have exceptions. If a bottle says full synthetic and costs almost the same as conventional oil, it is almost certainly the most basic Group 3 in the group. The weakest base available, the thinnest additive treatment that still clears the paperwork. And sometimes the base cannot be verified at all, because no technical datasheet is published anywhere. Which brings me to the promise I made you at the start. Search online for the oil's safety datasheet. 3 letters. SDS. Sometimes written MSDS. Every serious brand on the planet publishes it on its own website, free, no account, no paywall. Type the exact product name plus those letters into your phone. Open the composition section, the part that lists the base ingredients. Now read one line. This is the phrase. If it says hydrotreated heavy paraffinic distillate or severely hydrotreated petroleum base oil, that is Group 3. You are holding refined rock, whatever the front of the bottle shouts at you. If it says polyalpha-olefin, or the letters PAO, that is true Group 4. You are holding exactly what the label promised. If it says synthetic ester, that is Group 5. You are holding better than the label promised. And if no datasheet exists at all anywhere, that silence is your answer. It is the loudest warning available to a person standing in an aisle with a bottle in his hand. Put it down. That is it. That is the whole trick. One document, one section, one line, under a minute. Every bottle in this video publishes its own confession on its manufacturer's own website, and the bottles that publish nothing have confessed the loudest of all. With that document, you never have to trust a front label again for the rest of your life. There is one honest counter-argument left, and it decides whether any of this actually matters for your specific car. There are exactly 4 conditions under which Group 3 stops being good enough. If none of them describe your driving, the correct move is to stop paying for the word entirely. One ruling in 1999, and the entire aisle followed it. The brand that started it, still on the shelf. The natural gas premium that lands in the same group as the cheap stuff. The same base sold at 2 prices under 2 names by one company. The brand whose honesty changes with the viscosity you pick up. The certification floor, engineered to clear the bar and nothing more. Both dealership counters, where cheaper to supply is written directly into the recommendation you were taught to trust above all others. And the nameless bottle by the shop door that never published a word about itself at all. 8 bottles. Everyone legally honest, everyone factually hollow. So let me give you the 4 conditions, because I am not going to tell you to throw out oil that works. A good quality Group 3 with a good additive package protects an engine perfectly in normal use, meets manufacturer specifications, and is entirely adequate when you change it on schedule. That is the truth, and it deserves saying plainly. The difference starts to matter in extreme heat. It matters with a lot of short trips, where the oil never fully gets up to temperature and never fully burns off what it collected. It matters if you intend to safely extend your drain intervals, because that is the exact stretch where a depleted additive package stops covering for you. And it matters on a turbocharged engine, where oil sits against temperatures that hunt down the weak molecules in refined base first. It matters too if you plan to keep this engine for many years. In those cases, a true polyalpha-olefin oil gives you a margin of safety and durability that Group 3 simply cannot match. If you decide you genuinely need that margin, 3 names are worth searching for. AMSOIL Signature Series, formulated on true polyalpha-olefin base. That company built its whole identity on refusing the Group 3 swap the rest of the industry took. Liqui-Moly's premium lines, made under German regulation, where the word synthetic legally cannot be applied to Group 3, so the word on that bottle had to be earned. And Redline, running a combination of polyalpha-olefin and esters, formulated for exactly the heat that finds refined oil's weak links first. And what to do today takes 1 minute. Take the bottle you are running right now, or the invoice from your last service. Look up its safety datasheet. Read the composition line. If it says hydro-treated heavy paraffinic distillate, you now know precisely what is in your engine. If your car lives in extreme heat, does mostly short trips, carries a turbo, or runs long intervals, that line is worth acting on. If none of that describes you, that same line is telling you to stop paying extra for a word. You cannot change the ruling. You cannot change the label. You can change which document you read before you pay. So check your own engine right now in your head. Is it the base you thought you were buying, or the word you were sold? And once you know which it is, what changes? The oil or the interval? Tell me which one you would pick and why, down in the comments. I read them, and this is a subject where the disagreement is genuinely interesting. Subscribe if you want the paperwork read out loud instead of the marketing, because there is something in your maintenance schedule that costs far more than a bad oil choice and gets a fraction of the attention. That is the next thing worth understanding.